Tonight is the 31st of July, 2009. We are coming to the last sutta I'm going to read, the Kassapa Samyutta, number 16.13. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. Then the Venerable Maha Kassapa approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him, sat down to one side and said, Venerable Sir, what is the reason, what is the cause? Why formerly there were fewer training rules, but more monks were established in final knowledge? While now there are more training rules, but fewer monks are established in final knowledge. I'll stop here for a while. The meaning here is that formerly more monks attained arahanthood, even though there were fewer precepts. And now there are so many precepts, but less monks are attaining liberation, arahanthood. And the Buddha said, that's the way it is, Kassapa. When beings are deteriorating and the true Dhamma is disappearing, there are more training rules, but fewer monks are established in final knowledge. Kassapa, the true Dhamma does not disappear so long as a counterfeit of the true Dhamma has not arisen in the world. But when a counterfeit of the true Dhamma arises in the world, then the true Dhamma disappears. Stop here for a moment. So here Buddha is saying that the true Dhamma is disappearing. Even when the Buddha was alive, the true Dhamma also start to disappear. The monks, when too many monks come into the Sangha, many of them, their aim of wearing the robe is not noble. They don't practice as they should practice. So that is one of the reasons the true Dhamma is disappearing. And the second part, the Buddha says that true Dhamma does not disappear so long as a counterfeit of the true Dhamma has not arisen in the world. That means there is such a thing as counterfeit Dhamma. Although we think that it is the Buddha's teachings, it comes under the name of Buddhism and the Buddha's teachings and all that, but it is counterfeit stuff. It is not the real original teachings of the Buddha. A lot of people don't realize this. Buddha continued, just as Kassapa, gold does not disappear so long as counterfeit gold has not arisen in the world. But when counterfeit gold arises, then true gold disappears. So the true Dhamma does not disappear so long as a counterfeit of the true Dhamma has not arisen in the world. But when a counterfeit of the true Dhamma arises in the world, then the true Dhamma disappears. It is not the earth element, Kassapa, that causes the true Dhamma to disappear, nor the water element, nor the heat element, nor the air element. It is the senseless people who arise right here who cause the true Dhamma to disappear. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is saying just like there is counterfeit gold, so there is counterfeit Dhamma. And the world does not cause the Dhamma to disappear. The earth element, water, heat and air element does not cause the Dhamma to disappear, but it is the senseless people who arise here who cause the true Dhamma to disappear. What the Buddha means is that monks who arise in the Sangha, senseless monks who cause the true Dhamma to disappear. I'll explain here a bit. What do you mean by counterfeit Dhamma? Counterfeit Dhamma is the writings of later monks who say a lot of things that are contradictory to what the Buddha said in his original teachings. That's why it causes the people to be confused, and so causes the true Dhamma to disappear. In the suttas, you find the Buddha said that if any monk says that such and such is the Buddha's teachings, you have to compare them with the suttas and the Vinaya. Meaning the original suttas and the original Vinaya. And the suttas, generally, most people accept that the earliest discourses of the Buddha are found in the 4 Nikayas, the Digha Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Samyutta Nikaya, and Anguttara Nikaya. And the last Nikaya, the Khuddaka Nikaya, only about 6 books there out of the 15 are reliable in that they do not contradict the earlier 4 Nikayas. So this is the true Dhamma that Buddha means. And the Vinaya is more applicable to monks and nuns. The Buddha said in somewhere, in one of the discourses, that we should not add to his words and we should not subtract from his words. His teachings are perfect. It is always said that the Buddha's teaching of the Dhamma is perfect, and there is no reason to add to it or subtract from it. So, but unfortunately, as the Buddha calls these senseless people, later disciples who write later books. And what are these later books? Firstly, you have the Mahayana Sutras. Mahayana Sutras, generally, everybody knows that they appeared 500 years after the Buddha passed away. And the monks who started these sutras are like this Nagarjuna, Vasubandhu, Aspaghosal. And in the biography of this Nagarjuna, he admitted that he was asked, how is it that formerly there were no such sutras and now you claim that these are the words of the Buddha? And he said he went into the ocean, into the deep ocean, into the dragon palace and took out all these books which the Buddha had hidden away. But then we know during the Buddha's time there were no books, so how could the Buddha have hidden away his teachings in books? Secondly, the Buddha said that his teachings, true Dhamma, is open for everybody to investigate. Only deviant Dhamma is hidden away, is secretive. The true Dhamma, there's no reason to hide it. So we do not accept that these later sutras are the words of the Buddha. That's one source of counterfeit Dhamma. Another one is the Abhidhamma. Abhidhamma, although there are 7 books there, some of them can be said to agree with the earliest teachings of the Buddha, but there are a few books out of the 7 that have new concepts. The Abhidhamma, there are a lot of new teachings which the Buddha never taught, like Kalapa, Javana, rebirth consciousness, and all these things, which are never mentioned by the Buddha in the earliest discourses. And some of the things in the Abhidhamma, they do not quite agree with the earliest suttas. But for this, you have to investigate before you realize that. Some of the contradictions I have mentioned in my book, Samatha and Vipassana. Another source of counterfeit Dhamma is the commentaries. Commentaries are supposed to help us understand Buddha's suttas. They are supposed to explain difficult points. But the problem is a lot of the comments and the commentaries are simply out. They not only don't help us, but they give us contradictory teachings. For example, after you find out, you will see that the Buddha said one of the causes for the disappearance of the true Dhamma is disrespect for Samadhi. And nowadays, in the commentaries, it is said that you can attain liberation, arahanthood, without the 4 jhanas. In fact, without any jhana at all. This simply contradicts the suttas. In the Majjhima Nikaya, the Buddha said it is impossible to eliminate the 5 lower fetters, meaning either anagamin or arahant, without attaining the 4 jhanas. These are some of the books. In addition to this, there are some other later books. Although they contain some Dhamma, there is a sprinkling of Adhamma, what is contradictory to the earliest teachings. So unless you are familiar with the earliest discourses of the Buddha, you are going to be led astray. That's why the Buddha calls these later disciples senseless people who arise in the Sangha. Afterwards, there's more of this to come. The Buddha continued. The true Dhamma does not disappear all at once in the way a ship sinks. There are Kassapa, 5 detrimental things that lead to the decay and disappearance of the true Dhamma. What are the 5? Here, monks, Here the monks, nuns, the male lay followers, the female lay followers dwell without reverence and deference towards the teacher. They dwell without reverence and deference towards the Dhamma. They dwell without reverence and deference towards the Sangha. They dwell without reverence and deference towards the training. They dwell without reverence and deference towards concentration. These Kassapa are the 5 detrimental things that lead to the decay and disappearance of the true Dhamma. I'll stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha says there are 5 things, 5 main causes for the disappearance of the true Dhamma. One is people have no respect. The community of monks and nuns and lay people have no respect towards the Buddha. How is it they have no respect towards the Buddha? Maybe instead of being respectful towards the Buddha, they talk about other Buddhas, which there is no point in talking about other Buddhas, because we already have a Buddha now in our time. And then the second one, no reverence for Dhamma. Dhamma meaning the suttas and the Vinaya. So instead of studying and investigating, later we'll come to one chapter where the Buddha said that because people do not investigate the suttas, instead they listen to the words of disciples, meaning later monks, and so that will cause the suttas to disappear. So this is disrespect for the Dhamma. They dwell without respect for the Sangha. This one also, there's probably a reason for it, that the Sangha of monks, they do not behave properly, do not practice according to the Dhamma and the Vinaya. So people lose respect, and when people lose respect, the support for the sasana, the religion, decreases, and that causes the disappearance of the true Dhamma. The fourth, they have no reverence for training. The training generally refers to the training of Sila, Samadhi and Panya. In this, the teachings of the Buddha, we are supposed to study the words of the Buddha and train in them. But some people, they have no interest to train in the teachings of the Buddha. This training is especially more important for renunciants, for monks and nuns. Then lastly, they have no reverence for concentration, samadhi. Samadhi in the Buddha's teachings always refer to the 4 jhanas. Always refer to the 4 jhanas. In fact, in the Majjhima Nikaya, there's one sutta where Venerable Ananda was asked what type of meditation is praised by the Buddha. And Venerable Ananda said the first jhana, the second jhana, the third and the 4th jhana. So from here you can see Buddhist meditation are the 4 jhanas. But nowadays people say that Buddhist meditation is vipassana. But vipassana in the suttas has nothing to do with meditation. In the suttas, vipassana is contemplation. That means listening to the Dhamma and digesting it. When you understand the Dhamma, that is vipassana, contemplation. And both of these conditions are necessary, samatha and vipassana. Concentration and contemplation, both are necessary for liberation. Here, he says, now this last reason for disappearance of the true Dhamma is people have no respect for jhana, concentration. So you find nowadays some monks saying, what's the use of jhana? When you dwell in jhana, you have no mindfulness. This is utter rubbish. It shows a total ignorance of the suttas. Okay, then to continue. There are 5 things, Kassapa, that lead to the longevity of the true Dhamma, to its non-decay and non-disappearance. What are the 5? Here the monks, the nuns, the male lay followers and the female lay followers dwell with reverence and deference towards the teacher, that means the Buddha. They dwell with reverence and deference towards the Dhamma. They dwell with reverence and deference towards the Sangha. They dwell with reverence and deference towards the training. They dwell with reverence and deference towards concentration. These, Kassapa, are the 5 things that lead to the longevity of the true Dhamma, to its non-decay and non-disappearance. That's the end of the sutta. In our Vinaya books, there's a section where the Buddha was asked, do all the Buddhas teach the same? And do the Buddhist religion, the sasana, all last the same length of time? Something like that. And the Buddha said no. There are certain Buddhas who teach a lot of suttas and Vinaya. There are certain Buddhas who teach little suttas and Vinaya. And the Buddha said those that teach much sutta and Vinaya, then the sasana, the Buddhist religion lasts a long time. Whereas some Buddhas, when they don't teach much suttas and Vinaya, then the sasana does not last so long. The other point he mentioned was that after a Buddha has passed on into Nibbana, then it is up to the monks to turn the Dhamma wheel. So if the monks are diligent and they practice according to the suttas and the Vinaya and they teach the Dhamma and they spread the Dhamma, then the sasana lasts long. So in the absence of the Buddha himself, the sasana's life depends on the monks. So either the monks can prolong the sasana or the monks themselves shorten the life of the sasana. So this is an excellent sutta, one we have to keep in mind. Out of these 5 things that cause the disappearance of the true Dhamma, the last 2 are very important. We should have respect for the training and respect for concentration. And of course, if we have respect for the Dhamma, that means we have respect for the suttas. And if we practice according to the suttas, then the Sangha also is respected and the Dhamma will last long. Now we come to the next Samyutta, number 17, Labhasakkara Samyutta. These discourses are connected with gains and honor. Actually, it's another way of saying is fame and offerings. If a monk has fame and a lot of offerings, it's a great danger to him. So these suttas here are all connected with that. 17.3 at Savatthi, the Buddha said, monks, dreadful are gain, honor and praise. Bitter, vile, obstructive to achieving the unsurpassed security from bondage. Therefore, monks, you should train yourselves thus. We will abandon the arisen gain, honor and praise, and we will not let the arisen gains, honor and praise persist obsessing our minds. Thus should you train yourselves. Once in the past, there was a large family of turtles that had been living for a long time in a certain lake. Then one turtle said to another, Dear turtle, do not go to such and such a region. But that turtle went to that region, and the hunter struck him with a corded harpoon. Then that turtle approached the first one. When the first turtle saw him coming in the distance, he said to him, I hope, dear turtle, that you didn't go to that region. I did go to that region, dear. I hope you haven't been hit or struck, dear. I haven't been hit or struck, but there is this cord constantly following behind me. Indeed, you have been hit, dear turtle. Indeed, you have been struck. Your father and grandfather also met with calamity and disaster on account of such a cord. Go now, dear turtle, you are no longer one of us. Hunter monks, this is a designation for Mara, the evil one. Corded harpoon, this is a designation for gains, honors and praise. Cord is a designation for delight and lust. Any monk who relishes and enjoys the arisen gains, honor and praise is called a monk who has been struck with a corded harpoon, who has met with calamity and disaster, and the evil one can do with him as he wishes. So dreadful monks are gains, honors and praise. So bitter, vile, obstructive to achieving the unsurpassed security from bondage. Therefore, monks, you should train yourselves thus. We will abandon the arisen gains, honors and praise, and we will not let the arisen gains, honors and praise persist, obsessing our minds. Thus you should train yourselves. That's the end of the sutta. So here, this turtle, even though he was warned not to go to the particular region, but he still went, and he got struck by corded harpoon. I didn't even realize it. he went back. But of course, when the hunter decides to pull the cord, then only this turtle will realize that he is stuck fast to the cord. Here, in particular, this sutta is referring to some monks. Some monks, because of becoming famous and getting a lot of offerings, and then they take delight in that, and they crave for name and offerings. So they are struck with this cord by Mara, and they don't even realize it. They only realize it when death comes, and then they see they're going off to a bad rebirth. But then this sutta does not only apply to monks, it also applies to lay people. Sometimes you are attached to a crave, you have this craving for certain things, sensual desire, the six senses, the five senses. Just like, for example, somebody who is a drunkard, he is harpooned by this liquor. He cannot escape this craving for liquor. Or a drug addict. He will not suffer until what he craves for is missing. He cannot get drugs. And then it's as though Mara is pulling the cord. Or when he dies, because of the craving for example, drugs, then you'll be born as a hungry ghost, always craving, hungry for this, hungry for that. 17.5. At Savatthi, the Buddha said, monks, dreadful are gains, honors and praise, bitter, vile, obstructive to achieving the unsurpassed security from bondage. Therefore, monks, you should train yourselves thus. We will abandon the arisen gains, honors and praise, and we will not let the arisen gains, honors and praise persist obsessing our minds. Thus should you train yourselves. Suppose there was a beetle, a dung eater, stuffed with dung, full of dung, and in front of her was a large dunghill. Because of this, she would despise the other beetles, thinking, I am a dung eater, stuffed with dung, full of dung, and in front of me there is a large dunghill. So too monks, a monk here whose mind is overcome and obsessed by gains, honors and praise, dresses in the morning, and taking bowl and robe, enters a village or town for alms. There he would eat as much as he wants. He would be invited for the next day's meal, and his alms food would be plentiful. When he goes back to the monastery, he boasts before a group of monks, I have eaten as much as I want. I have been invited for tomorrow's meal, and my alms food is plentiful. I am one who gains robes, alms food, lodgings, and medicinal requisites. But these other monks have little merit and influence, and they do not gain robes, alms food, lodgings, and medicinal requisites. Thus, because his mind is overcome and obsessed by gains, honors, and praise, he despises the other well-behaved monks. That will lead to the harm and suffering of this senseless person for a long time. So dreadful monks are gains, honors, and praise. It's the end of the sutta. So here the Buddha likens a person who has, a monk who has a lot of offerings to this dung beetle who's stuffed with dung, shit. In one of the suttas, the Buddha said that before he was enlightened, he had 5 dreams, like prophesying what was going to happen. And one of these dreams, he dreamt that he walked on a hill full of dung. Even though he was walking on this hill full of dung, he was not dirtied by all this dung around him. Then when he woke up, then he realized that in the future he will become famous and he will get a lot of offerings and all that. But he was not attached. He would not be attached to it. So if he's not attached to it, then he's not dirtied by all the offerings. So he likened all the offerings to shit, to dung. If you attach to it, then you become dirtied, just like the dung. 17.8 at Savatthi. Monks, dreadful gains, honors and praise, etc. Did you hear an old jackal howling when the night was fading? Yes, Venerable Sir. That old jackal is afflicted with a disease called mange. He cannot feel at ease whether he goes into a cave, or to the foot of a tree, or into the open air. Wherever he goes, wherever he stands, wherever he sits, wherever he lies down, there he meets with calamity and disaster. So too monks, a monk here whose mind is overcome and obsessed with gains, honors and praise, does not feel at ease whether he goes into an empty hut, or to the foot of a tree, or into the open air. Wherever he goes, wherever he stands, wherever he sits, wherever he lies down, there he meets with calamity and disaster. So dreadful monks are gains, honors and praise. The end of the sutta. So here, this old jackal has got this skin disease, mange, which makes him very itchy. He's so itchy that he is so troubled. His mind is so troubled by this itch. Wherever he goes, he's not comfortable. So also, if a monk is obsessed with name, fame and offerings, then he's always thinking about this. And he's always conscious whether he is famous or not, and whether his offerings are a lot or not. So wherever he goes, his mind cannot stop thinking about all this rubbish. 17.11 at Savatthi. Monks, dreadful are gains, honors and praise, etc. like before. Monks, I have known of a certain person here, whose mind I have encompassed with my own mind. This venerable one would not tell a deliberate lie, even for the sake of a golden bowl filled with powdered silver. Yet some time later, I see him, his mind overcome and obsessed by gains, honors and praise, telling a deliberate lie. So dreadful monks are gains, honors and praise. So here the Buddha is saying there's a certain monk, he's a very good monk. He would not lie even for a lot of money. Yet later when he becomes famous, he gets a lot of offerings, he becomes a very different person. Then he starts to lie and all these things. So a person can change. So if you allow these, what we call the 8 winds, praise and blame, fame and insignificance and all these things, if you are worried about these things, then it affects you, the person's character can be affected. So it's good for a monk to stay in a forest monastery, away from town. If a monk stays in town, he gets to become famous, he gets a lot of offerings, and all this can change him. 17.23 at Savatthi. Monks, dreadful are gains, honors and praise, etc. A faithful female lay follower, rightly imploring her only son, dear and beloved, might implore him thus: Dear, you should become like Chitta, the householder, and Hataka of Alavaka. For this is the standard and criterion for my male disciples who are lay followers, that is Chitta, the householder, and Hataka of Alavaka. But if, dear, you go forth from the household life into homelessness, you should become like Sariputta and Moggallana. For this is the standard and criterion for my male disciples who are monks, that is Sariputta and Moggallana. While, dear, you are a trainee, one who has not yet reached his mind's ideal, may gains, honors and praise not come upon you. Monks, if gains, honors and praise come upon a monk while he is a trainee, one who has not yet reached his mind's ideal, this is an obstacle for him. So dreadful monks are gains, honors and praise. Bitter, vile, obstructive to achieving the unsurpassed security from bondage, etc. The Buddha is saying a lay person, a layman should try to emulate, to follow the example of Chitta, the householder, and Hataka of Alavaka. And if a person goes forth and becomes a monk, then he should try to become like Sariputta or Moggallana. And in the end, the Buddha says, if a monk is a trainee, that means has not attained arahanthood, then this fame and offerings are an obstacle. That's why a monk should not allow this fame and offerings to affect him, especially fame. Once a monk becomes famous, it's very, very difficult to practice. That's why sometimes people ask me whether there are arahants in the world. So I usually tell them, even there are arahants in the world, they don't want to be famous. If they become famous, they'll be so busy. They have no time to enjoy the bliss of jhana. There's another sutta that the Buddha actually said this. 17.24 at Savatthi. Monks, dreadful are gains, honors and praise, etc. A faithful female lay follower, rightly imploring her only daughter, dear and beloved, might implore her thus, Dear, you should become like Kujuttara, the lay follower, and Velu Kandakya, Nanda's mother, Nanda Mata. For this is the standard and criterion for my female disciples who are lay followers, that is, Kujuttara, the lay follower, and Velu Kandakya, Nanda's mother. But if, dear, you go forth from the household life into homelessness, you should become like the nuns, Khema and Upalavana. For this is the standard and criterion for my female disciples who are nuns, that is, Khema and Upalavana. While, dear, you are a trainee, one who has not yet reached her mind's ideal, may gains, honors and praise not come upon you. Monks, if gains, honors and praise come upon a nun while she is still a trainee, one who has not yet reached her mind's ideal, this is an obstacle for her. So dreadful, monks, are gains, honors and praise. That's the end of the sutta. So similarly, the Buddha says, for lay women, they should try to follow Kujuttara and Velu Kandakya. And if they become a nun, then they should try to follow to be like Khema and Upalavana. 17.30 at Savatthi. Monks, gains, honors and praise are an obstacle even for a monk who is an arahant, one with asavas destroyed. When this was said, the Venerable Ananda asked the Blessed One, Why, Venerable Sir, are gains, honors and praise an obstacle even for a monk with asavas destroyed? And the Buddha said, I do not say, Ananda, that gains, honors and praise are an obstacle to his unshakable liberation of mind. But I say they are an obstacle to his attainment of those pleasant dwellings in this very life, which are achieved by one who dwells diligent, ardent and resolute. So dreadful, Ananda, are gains, honors and praise, so bitter, vile, obstructive to achieving the unsurpassed security from bondage. Therefore, Ananda, you should train yourselves thus. We will abandon the arisen gains, honors and praise, and we will not let the arisen gains, honors and praise persist obsessing our minds. Thus should you train yourselves. That's the end of the sutta. So here the Buddha says, even for an arahant, fame and offerings are an obstacle even for an arahant, because that will affect his abiding in jhana. An arahant, of course, can easily abide in jhana, but if he becomes famous and people want to offer him all the time, then he has got to spend a lot of time with lay people, and so he will not have time to abide in jhana. So good monks who are really good meditation monks, they don't spend too much time with lay people. They try to spend more time in their meditation. 17.36. While dwelling at Gaha in the bamboo grove, the squirrel sanctuary. Now on that occasion, Prince Ajatasattu was going to attend upon Devadatta morning and evening with 500 carts. Then an offering of food was conveyed to him in 500 pots. Then a number of monks approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him, sat down to one side and reported this matter to the Blessed One. I'll stop here for a moment. So this one, at that time, this Ajatasattu was just a prince, had not become a king yet. And Devadatta at that time, because of his good practice, Devadatta had attained had attained 8 jhanas, 4 rupa jhanas and 4 arupa jhanas, and because of that, he had great psychic power. So he could turn himself. At one time, he turned himself into a snake and manifested this to this prince Ajatasattu. So the prince was so impressed with him. This prince was offering him morning and evening 500 cups of food. At that time, the Buddha had not made this rule, probably, that a monk can only eat in the morning. So, since the Buddha had not made this rule, a monk could eat as many times as he wanted. So here, he was getting his morning meal and his dinner. Then a number of monks approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him and sat down to one side and reported this matter to the Blessed One. The Blessed One said, "Monks, do not be envious of Devadatta's gains, honors and praise. As long as Prince Ajatasattu goes to attend upon Devadatta morning and evening with 500 carts and with an offering of food, and an offering of food is conveyed to him in 500 pots, only decline can be expected of Devadatta in regard to wholesome states, not growth. Just as a wild dog becomes even wilder when they sprinkle bile over its nose, so too monks, as long as Prince Ajatasattu goes to attend upon Devadatta morning and evening with 500 carts, and an offering of food is conveyed to him in 500 pots, only decline can be expected of Devadatta in regard to wholesome states, not growth. So dreadful monks are gains, honors and praise." That's the end of the sutta. You can see here, this Devadatta, because he attained psychic power, and he got all these offerings, you see, one meal, he gets 500 pots, one meal. That's a lot of food, 500 pots. Even 1 or 2 pots or 3 pots is enough to fill your stomach, but he gets 500 pots. And he got the gall, he got the cheek to accept all these offerings. So that's why the other day when we read the sutta about the Buddha saying, those of the same kind come together, then the Buddha mentioned, I see Devadatta, he and all his disciples are all greedy, have evil desires. You see, there are some people like Devadatta, even though the Buddha is his teacher, the Buddha found it impossible to teach him. Probably even if the Buddha advised him, he would not listen to the Buddha. So that's why there are only some people we can help, not everybody we can help. So the Buddha already saw for a long time that this Devadatta had evil desires. That's why the Buddha predicted, don't be jealous of him. He keeps accepting these offerings, he will only decline, he's not going to progress. So sure enough, later, when this Devadatta's ego was getting bigger and bigger, then one day he told the Buddha, "Bhagawa, you are so old already, why don't you step down, let me take over the Sangha." He wanted to become the leader. So the Buddha was so annoyed with him. The Buddha said, who do you think you are? You want to take over my place? I don't even ask Sariputta or Moggallana to take over the Sangha. You want to take over the Sangha. So the Buddha said, you are like spittle, we spit out. So because the Buddha said he's like spittle, something unwanted, so he got so angry with the Buddha, he wanted to kill the Buddha. So he planned to kill the Buddha. And because he tried to kill the Buddha, all his psychic powers all disappeared. He lost all his psychic power. So that's why all these psychic powers is not much use. The most important is right view. You have right view, you won't have all these evil desires, and you won't go to hell. And finally this Devadatta has got to go to hell. Now we come to the next Samyutta, Rahula Samyutta. Rahula was the son of the Buddha. Before the Buddha renounced, he had a son. When Rahula was 7 years old, the Buddha asked, I think, Sariputta to ordain him. So 7 years old, he became Samanera, a novice, and after that he did not disrobe, he continued. Of course, the Buddha probably paid some special attention to Rahula being his son. So that's why there are certain discourses connected with Rahula, where the Buddha taught Rahula some Dhamma. So the first sutta, 18.1. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Savatthi in Jeta's grove, Anathapindika's park. Then the Venerable Rahula approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him, sat down to one side and said to him, Venerable Sir, it would be good if the Blessed One would teach me the Dhamma in brief, so that, having heard the Dhamma from the Blessed One, I might dwell alone, withdrawn, diligent, ardent and resolute. What do you think, Rahula? Is the I permanent or impermanent? Impermanent, Venerable Sir. Is what is impermanent suffering or happiness? Suffering, Venerable Sir. Is what is impermanent suffering subject to change, fit to be regarded thus? This is mine, this I am, this is myself. No, Venerable Sir. Similarly, is the ear, nose, tongue, body and mind permanent or impermanent? Impermanent, Sir. Is what is impermanent suffering or happiness? Suffering, Venerable Sir. Is what is impermanent suffering and subject to change, fit to be regarded thus? This is mine, this I am, this is myself. No, Venerable Sir. Seeing thus, Rahula, the instructed noble disciple experiences revulsion towards the eye, revulsion towards the ear, revulsion towards the nose, revulsion towards the tongue, revulsion towards the body, revulsion towards the mind. Experiencing revulsion, he becomes dispassionate. Through dispassion, his mind is liberated. When it is liberated, there comes the knowledge it is liberated. He understands, destroyed his birth, the holy life has been lived, what had to be done has been done, there is no more for this state of being. That's the end of the sutta. You see this teaching of the Buddha here, that because the sense organs are impermanent, in other words, this that we take to be the self is impermanent, and because it is impermanent, it is a source of suffering, and because it is a source of suffering, it is not fit to regard it as I or mine. So this kind of instruction, this core of the essence of the Dhamma is basically this. So this kind of teaching you find in several suttas. When the Buddha taught this to several of his disciples who had already attained the fourth jhana, just listening to this, they attained liberation, became arahant. But for most of us, when we listen to this sutta, we understand a bit, but we don't, because we don't see it so clearly, because of the hindrances in us, so we don't become arahant. Actually, the point of this sutta is that this that we take to be the self, our body and our mind, is impermanent. And this impermanence, because we don't contemplate much on it, we don't think, but if we think actually that one day this body will grow old, will become ugly, will die, become sick and die. So if it's going to die one day, why you cling on to it? If you cling on to it, it will give you suffering. That's enough. The faster we let go of it, the faster we don't suffer so much. Later you see in one of the suttas, Buddha says, contemplation of this impermanence is very important. If we keep contemplating impermanence, then we'll see the real nature of the world and the real nature of our body and mind. 18.21 at Savatthi. Then the Venerable Rahula approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him and sat down to one side and said, this is one of the suttas that are repeated. It is also found in the Anguttara Nikaya 3.32 and also in the Samyutta Nikaya in another place, Sutta 22.71 and 22.76. Venerable Sir, how should one know, how should one see, so that in regard to this body with consciousness and in regard to all external signs, I-making, mind-making and the underlying tendency to conceit no longer occurs within. Stop here for a moment. So here Venerable Rahula is asking the Buddha, how should we contemplate so that we can get rid of this conceit, this tendency to think that I am, I exist. Once you have the I, then you have the mind, my family, my relations and all that. This, if you can really see clearly this, then you can attain liberation. Then the Buddha said, any kind of form whatsoever, Rahula, whether past, future or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near. One sees all forms as it really is with correct wisdom thus. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. Similarly, any kind of feeling whatsoever, any kind of perception, any kind of volition, any kind of consciousness whatsoever, whether past, future or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, one sees all of these aggregates as it really is with correct wisdom thus. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. When one knows and sees thus, Rahula, then in regard to this body with consciousness and in regard to all external signs, I-making, mind-making and the underlying tendency to conceit no longer occurs within. At the end of the sutta. So this sutta is concerned with the 5 aggregates. That's why this sutta is repeated in the Samyutta about the 5 aggregates. So the Buddha is saying that these 5 aggregates are basically the body and the mind. We should see clearly that they are impermanent. Because they are impermanent, they are a source of suffering. And because they are a source of suffering, we should not take it to be I or mine. So for this Rahula Samyutta, I am only reading these 2 suttas. Now we come to Samyutta number 19, Lakkhana Samyutta. Lakkhana is a monk. Discourses concern questions that he asked. 19.1. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Gaha in the bamboo grove, the Squirrel sanctuary. On that occasion, the Venerable Lakkhana and the Venerable Mahamoggallana were dwelling on Mount Vulture Peak. Then in the morning, the Venerable Mahamoggallana dressed, and taking bowl and robe, he approached the Venerable Lakkhana and said to him, "Come, friend Lakkhana, let us enter Rajagaha for alms." So they wanted to go on Pindabat, alms round. "All right, friend," the Venerable Lakkhana replied. Then as he was coming down from Mount Vulture Peak, the Venerable Mahamoggallana displayed a smile in a certain place. The Venerable Lakkhana said to him, "For what reason, friend Moggallana, did you display a smile?" "This is not the time for that question, friend Lakkhana. Ask me that question when we are in the presence of the Blessed One." Stop here for a moment. So the 2 monks, they were walking down the hill to go on alms round very early in the morning. Then Venerable Mahamoggallana, because he got psychic power, he saw some spirit. And then when he contemplated the spirit, usually it was a ghost. Then he smiled. And then Venerable Lakkhana asked him, because Venerable Lakkhana probably didn't have the psychic power to see. So Venerable Lakkhana asked him, "Why did you smile?" He said, "Wait until later, you ask me in front of the Buddha." Then when the Venerable Lakkhana and the Venerable Mahamoggallana had walked for alms in Rajagaha and returned from their alms round, after their meal they approached the Blessed One. Having paid homage to the Blessed One, they sat down to one side, and the Venerable Lakkhana said to the Venerable Mahamoggallana, "Here, as he was coming down from Mount Vulture Peak, the Venerable Mahamoggallana displayed a smile in a certain place. For what reason, friend Moggallana, did you display that smile?" And the Venerable Mahamoggallana said, "Here, friend, as I was coming down from Mount Vulture Peak, I saw a skeleton moving through the air. Vultures, crows and hawks, following it in hot pursuit, were pecking at it between the ribs, stabbing it and tearing it apart, while it uttered cries of pain. It occurred to me, it is wonderful indeed, it is amazing indeed, that there could be such a being, that there could be such a spirit, that there could be such a form of individual existence." Then the Blessed One addressed the monks thus, "Monks, there are disciples who dwell having become vision, having become knowledge, in that a disciple can know, see and witness such a sight. In the past, monks, I too saw that being, but I did not speak about it. For if I had spoken about it, others would not have believed me. And if they had not believed me, that would have led to their harm and suffering for a long time. That being, monks, used to be a cattle butcher in this same Rajagaha. having been tormented in hell for many years, for many hundreds of years, for many thousands of years, for many hundreds of thousands of years, as a result of that karma. As a residual result of that same karma, he is experiencing such a form of individual existence. It's the end of the sutta. So here, Venerable Mahamoggallana saw a ghost with a skeleton body flying through the air, and these vultures and crows and hawks were chasing it and pecking at it, and he was crying and flying and crying and flying and crying. So the Buddha said he used to be a cattle butcher. He used to slaughter cows. So after that he went to hell for a long time, and after coming out of hell, he's still suffering as a ghost. Then all the other suttas in this Samyutta follow the same pattern. And only thing is the different things that Venerable Mahamoggallana saw. So the second sutta, he said, after being asked, he said, "Dear friend, as I was coming down from Mount Vulture Peak, I saw a piece of meat moving through the air. Vultures, crows and hawks, following it in hot pursuit, were stabbing at it and tearing it apart as it uttered cries of pain." And the Buddha said, "That being monks was a cattle butcher in this same Rajagaha." So this second one, he was also a cattle butcher, but instead of being a ghost with a skeleton, he was a ghost full of meat. Maybe the first guy was always cutting the meat off the skeleton, so he was always thinking of the skeleton, so he was born as a skeleton. This one was always chopping the meat. And the third sutta also saw a lump of meat, and the Buddha said, "That being was a poultry butcher in this same Rajagaha. He used to slaughter chickens." The fourth one, I saw a flayed man. The flayed man means a ghost with all the skin removed. That being was a sheep butcher in the same Rajagaha. The fifth sutta, I saw a man with body hairs of swords moving through the air. Those swords kept on rising up and striking his body while he uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that being was a hog butcher in the same Rajagaha. He used to slaughter pigs. The sixth sutta, I saw a man with body hairs of spears moving through the air. Those spears kept on rising up and striking his body while he uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that being was a deer hunter in the same Rajagaha. The seventh sutta, I saw a man with body hairs of arrows moving through the air. Those arrows kept on rising up and striking his body while he uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that being was a torturer in the same Rajagaha. That means he worked for the king. So when any criminal was to be tortured, he used to torture people. So now he is in pain. The eighth sutta, I saw a man with body hairs of needles moving through the air. Those needles kept on rising up and striking his body while he uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that being was a horse trainer in the same Rajagaha. You see, when they train horses, they have to beat the horses, they have to poke the horses, so make the horses suffer, to discipline the horse, make the horse got to do what the trainer wants him to do. And usually a new horse is very stubborn, so they have to poke and all that. The ninth sutta, I saw a man with body hairs of needles moving through the air. Those needles entered his head and came out from his mouth. They entered his mouth and came out from his chest. They entered his chest and came out from his belly. They entered his belly and came out from his thighs. They entered his thighs and came out from his calves. They entered his calves and came out from his feet, while he uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that being was a slanderer in the same Rajagaha. It's amazing, because see how much the person who slanders other people, talk bad about other people, then you create a lot of harm to that person. Even for monks, sometimes some lay people, they don't like a particular monk. They will talk bad about that monk, and then it goes around. And then, so it does a lot of harm to his reputation. So this person, he was this type of person. So if you slander a virtuous person, then the karma vipaka, the result is much worse. So in this case, I don't know how many people he slandered. So he is born like that. Then the 10th sutta. I saw a man whose testicles were like pots moving through the air. When he walked, he had to lift his testicles onto his shoulders, and when he sat down, he sat on top of his testicles. Vultures, crows, and hawks, following him in hot pursuit, were stabbing at him and tearing him apart while he uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that being was a corrupt magistrate in this same Rajagaha. So you see, this corrupt magistrate, he does a lot of shameful things, which he doesn't want people to know, doesn't want people to see. But when he's born as a ghost, then what is shameful is exposed. 11th sutta. I saw a man with head submerged in a pit of dung. And the Buddha said, that being was an adulterer in this same Rajagaha. You see, when a person commits adultery, he dirties the body. So here the result is living in a shithole, full of shit. The 12th sutta. I saw a man submerged in a pit of dung, eating dung with both hands. And the Buddha said, that being, monks, was a hostile Brahmin in this same Rajagaha. In the time of the Buddha Kassapa's dispensation, he invited the bhikkhu Sangha to a meal. Having had rice pots filled with dung, he said to the monks, Sirs, eat as much as you want from this and take away the rest with you. So here, this hostile Brahmin, he didn't like the Buddha and the monks. So he knew that if you invite them to a house for a meal, they will come for a meal. So he had all the shit put in the pots. So when the monks came, he invited them to eat shit. So he thought it was a big joke, but now his joke backfired. So he's eating shit for a long time. 13th sutta. I saw a flayed woman moving through the air. Vultures, crows, and hawks following her in hot pursuit were stabbing at her and tearing her apart while she uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that woman was an adulteress in this same Rajagaha. So this woman, having committed adultery, maybe did it often and with a lot of men. So she was born as this ghost with all the skin removed, no skin. So when the birds attacked her, she was in great pain. 19.14. I saw a woman, foul-smelling and ugly, moving through the air. Vultures, crows, and hawks following her in hot pursuit were stabbing at her and tearing her apart while she uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that woman was a fortune teller in the same Rajagaha. You see, fortune tellers, usually to make money, they will lie and cheat people. So she is born as a ugly and bad-smelling ghost. 15. I saw a woman, her body roasting, sweltering, sooty, moving through the air, while she uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that woman was the chief queen of the king of Kalinga. Of a jealous character, she poured a brazier of coals over one of the king's consorts. So this, formerly, this chief queen, she was jealous of another wife. So this red-hot coal, she poured over the other woman. So now she's born as a ghost, the body roasted, burnt, and pain. 19.16. I saw a headless trunk moving through the air. Its eyes and mouth were on its chest. Vultures, crows, and hawks, following it in hot pursuit, were stabbing at it and tearing it apart while it utters cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that being was an executioner named Harika in this same Rajagaha. So this executioner, he used to chop off people's head. So now he's born as a ghost without a head. But he still has eyes and his mouth on his chest. Sometimes people see ghosts also without the head. They executed. 19.17. I saw a monk moving through the air. His outer robe, bowl, waistband and body were burning, blazing and flaming while he uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that monk had been an evil monk in the Buddha Kassapa's dispensation. And then 18, I saw a nun moving through the air. Her outer robe, bowl, waistband and body were burning, blazing and flaming while she uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that nun had been an evil nun in the Buddha Kassapa's dispensation. So these last two refers to monks and nuns. Monks and nuns who they wear the robe, but they don't behave like a monk, and they are corrupt, full of evil desires and all that. When they pass away, they have to suffer for a long time to pay up their credit card. I think I'll stop here. We went through a lot of suttas today. I think I discussed. It's one of the reasons. People always like to find a shortcut. Just like some people say, oh, you recite the name of the Buddha, you can be born in heaven. But whereas the Buddha says, you have to behave like a heavenly being, then only you can be reborn in the heaven. Not just recite the name. It's always the case that people always like to find a shortcut, easy way out. You see, like we learn the Dhamma, in Chinese we say 学佛啦. We follow the Buddha's footsteps. That is the proper way. But a lot of people, they think they come to Buddhism to pray to the Buddha for help, pray to the Buddha to fulfill their wishes. That is not what Buddhism is about. Buddhism is a do-it-yourself religion, where we have to do everything ourselves. So because of that, a lot of people, they are lazy, they are not, they don't want to put the effort, so they try to find an easy way out. Pray to Kuan Yin and all that. Lay people greedy for merit, so they like to make offerings to famous monks. Because if the monk has got some wisdom, he knows some certain things are not good for him, he should not accept. And he should not go around behaving like a movie queen, movie king, a superstar, and all that. So a monk should know how to behave as a monk, not like some monks nowadays. They go around with a TV crew, TV crew following them everywhere. These Citta and Hataka, they are Anagamin disciples of the Buddha. Anagamin disciples, and they are very exemplary in that they can be very good in their meditation, and they are strong supporters of the Sangha. Monks come to the house and on arms round, and they support the Sangha. And yet they are very humble. Even though they are Anagamins, have attained third fruit of the Aryan stage, yet they are not proud. Even ordinary monk comes to their house, they will pay respect, because they pay respect to the Sangha, not to the individual. And like this Citta and Hataka, because they are so knowledgeable in the Dhamma, whenever they have a group of monks, they invite a group of monks for dana, they will ask Dhamma questions of the monks. And if the monks don't know how to teach Dhamma, they will teach Dhamma to the monk. They are so good. Among the lay people, they are the cream. So whereas this Kujuttara and Velukandakya, what we know is they are also Anagamins. But about them, there is not much spoken of in the suttas. Whereas in the suttas, there are more about this Citta and Hataka. So probably they are in the same standard. Yeah, so like this lay woman, I think this Velukandakya, or maybe both of them, they are psychic, they have psychic powers. So like one night, there's one sutta where this Velukandakya Nandamata, in the night, she was doing some chanting. Then the Yakha king flew by and then heard her chanting and then descended and spoke to her like her chanting. And then also this Devaraja, Yakha Devaraja told her in a few hours' time, remember Sariputta and I think Moggallana and a few Arahant monks, they are coming here. You please do offer food to them and you say it is in my name that means he wants the merit so this lady said, can I will make the offerings on your behalf So the next morning when the monks came, she sent somebody to go and invite them to her house for a meal and then they were surprised. How did you know? You never informed anybody that we came. How did you know that we came? And she said, this Devaraja told me. And so also told me to make this offering on his behalf. So you see, Devas also want merit. So up to you. If you are more familiar with the suttas, then you would know more precisely what the Buddha is trying to say. But during the Buddha's time, it was not so bad. Like here now the Buddha says, when he says gains and fame, he's talking about the monk who goes to on alms round, he gets a lot of food, becomes very proud. But nowadays, the gains that the monks get is so many more times more than during the Buddha's time. Drive around in Mercedes, they buy shares, they have property. All this is horrible compared to the Buddha's time. Okay, shall we transfer merit?